All right. Hey guys, welcome to this podcast training. I'm super excited because we have never talked about this, never done this before. It's brand new for me. And also, for whoever's watching, I'm sure this is something that maybe you've always wanted to do. So if you can drop in the chat, have you wanted to start your own podcast? Put a number one. If you have never thought about it, but now you're like, yeah, I want to do it, drop a number two. And I kind of just wanted to go over some things first about the podcast industry before I kind of teach you guys real quick how to make your own. And it is so simple. It is the quickest process that I've ever kind of been through. I thought, you had to have a fancy microphone. I thought you had to have all these equipment and things. You don't need any of that. You literally just need one app. And the fact that you can do it at your phone in your office or in your space, it's phenomenal. So, okay. Something real quick that I learned from my business coach, and he is actually the one that told me to do this because he has his own podcast series, multiple ones published. And he says that this industry is untapped. Who do you know that has a podcast? Not probably many people, right? So this is going to be different. We are going to do something that is different, that is eye-catching, that is ahead of the wave. There's even podcast conventions that I'm learning about. There's all these other things that go into it. And I just think it's so cool because it's a way to share your story that's not invasive, right? You don't have people staring at you. You don't have comments, distracting you and notifications and all this stuff. You can tweak it. You can edit it. You can publish it, whenever you want. It's not like you have to immediately, hit live and then put it up there, right? So it's a lot more user-friendly in that aspect. And I'm trying to find the stats that I have about it, and I can't find it, but okay, that's fine. So, basically the stats just said you need to do it. So I'll just cut to the chase. So, first you want to figure out what your brand is, what you're going to talk about. Why do you want to make this podcast? Because it's going to make, creating it that much easier. And for me, I knew that I want a space that I can talk to people more, trying to think of the word, more intentionally, more, privately, because it's deeper stuff. So for me, I didn't want to do it on live. I didn't want to broadcast, I didn't want comments going off. I wanted to do it in a space that I felt comfortable, number one. Number two, that the listener felt comfortable as well. So I feel when it's off the main socials, it gives you a way to connect with people that are different, because this podcast is going to be broadcasted for you with the app, which I'm going to talk about. So first and foremost, what is your brand? Why do you want to do it? And I am going to be starting a social media mentorship, branding, business launching series as well, where I'm kind of going to guide you guys through a checklist of what to change, what to do. But first and foremost, your brand is something that needs to be established right now. I don't know if you guys are okay with me kind of calling on you a little bit, but I know when Jackie was here with me, we discovered her brand, and she focuses on empowering epilepsy. And I think that is so powerful for her and for her audience. And I know I've talked with Haley one-on-one, and hers is called Haley Babe, which is so cool because she has such a powerful testimony of her journey. And she started in this industry as a young little babe, and now she's growing to be this huge boss babe that's just going to take over the map. So whatever your brand is, and if you need help, message me. We can schedule a call and kind of go over it one-on-one. But your brand is something unique to you. So don't look at what Jackie's doing. Don't look at what I'm doing. Don't look at what Mikey's doing. It is not anything that is going to piggyback off of someone else. So why are you here? It's a little bit deeper than just, why did you start the business? No, this is why are you here on earth? What is your purpose? What is your mission? What is your calling? Why do people reach out to you? What do you have to offer that is a service that maybe, you are different than everyone else? So that is something that you need to reflect on. And, if you believe in God, then ask God, be like, God, why should I do a podcast? Tell me what to talk about. And that's something I had to do too, is, it took me a little bit of time to kind of, navigate to creating mine, the Power Babe, because I am so passionate about helping people get their power back, because I've been able to get my power back. So I feel like now I can teach on it. So what have you gone through? And this may start, unleashing some of those layers that you you aren't comfortable with. And that is part of the journey, you guys. Do you think I like talking about addiction or, narcissist relationships? No, it's not fun. It's not pretty, but it's part of the journey. So, take a moment to jot down some ideas. Are you into fitness? Are you into, like you're maybe a mom that has, a child with ADHD, like autism, like whatever your unique style is, like whatever your uniqueness is, like that's kind of what it needs to be about. Whatever you're naturally called and born to talk about. What do you get excited about? That's something else, you guys. I get so excited about talking about how I was able to slay the enemy's dragon and like keep going with my life. Like I love talking about my faith and my journey with that. So that's kind of tied into some of my stuff. So you need to find what works for you, what your calling is, what your purpose is. And if you guys heard the CEO's call, Navan is a vehicle for that. Like this company is such a blessing. Like they don't want us to brand the company. I'm wearing it loud and proud because I love it, but they don't want you to do that. They don't expect you to get the word out about Navan. They want to know who you are and why you're here on earth. Like that is just so different and so cool for a company. So figuring out your brand is number one. Then let me get my phone back up. Okay. So then you want to start jotting down notes and writing out your message. I don't look at podcasting as like an overnight, like one video. Like it's like you want to do it right? So you want like a series. You want at least, 3 or 4 episodes. I would aim for 5 or 6 because then you're going to get published on iTunes, which is so cool. Like how cool is it to feel like you're going to be on iTunes? Like what? Like that's my mission. That's why I'm doing 2 a week. Cause I'm like, I want to be on iTunes. And that's what the app kind of does for you. So I'm going to get into that. You don't have to pay for any of this either, you guys. Like this is all free. That's why it just blows my mind how we're going to be the podcast team. Okay. So first, figure out your brand. Then you want to jot down some notes, write out your message. Like what do you want to talk about? Like the first one should always be like an intro, just a little bit of like a teaser of who you are, why you're doing this, and legitimately say like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like this may be terrible, but just bear with me. And when you're open and honest and you make it fun, people are going to keep watching. They want to see the journey. You're not supposed to have it all figured out your first podcast. You're not supposed to know what you're doing when you first get started with something new. And people are going to start to see the journey. My business coach today told me, he's like, dude, it doesn't even matter literally if you mess up because you're putting in the action. Like you're going to get noticed. You're going to get seen because you're just doing it. And that's the thing, you guys, you just have to do it. So hopefully this inspires you enough tonight to just hit that record button and to talk. I don't recommend them to be super long. You want to keep your audience engaged. And if you're, super nervous, keep it 5 minutes. There's nothing wrong with 5-10 minutes. Mine have been about 15 minutes when I add the intro and outro, which I will show you guys how to do as well. So keep it simple. If you mess up and you don't feel, confident right away, that's okay. You can also edit stuff, you guys. It is awesome. You can edit it. You don't have to just publish all of it right away. You can red flag certain parts as you're talking. You can cut them out. I straight up did 3 parts in my first one because I had my alarm go off. So make sure you don't have alarms preset to go off. Mine actually said to do the podcast and I was already doing it. So I was ahead of schedule, but it like lost my train of thought. And I said that. I said, oh, now I don't know what I'm going to say. And I added like some like funny thing in between, some like little jingle. And that's okay. But you can prepare ahead of time. And I recommend writing down notes. Take out a blank sheet of paper, okay? And just start writing down what you want for your podcast. I write notes like a child. So there's mine for my second podcast episode. And then I doodle and draw like as I'm doing it. And I cross the file and I draw arrows. And it's just like, it's my rough copy. And then, front and back. And this was like me pre-planning it. I do the same for Facebook Lives. I will always write down notes and you may not say exactly what you wrote down, but at least it keeps your brain like on track and focused. So that way you don't stutter. You don't, maybe say so much. Like those are just little, public speaking tips that I remember from college is when you write stuff down, it's gonna be a little bit better than just you winging it. But if God's telling you wing it, do it. I'm not saying that, but for some of us, we need to have like a visual. We need to write stuff down, and you guys can actually read your notes as you're talking. That's the best part about it too, is it's not like you're just like, I don't know. I feel like it's so different with live videos because like I have to be staring at you, right? As we're live right now. But with podcasting, you can literally be like just deep down into your phone reading and no one knows because they don't see your face. So that's just another perk of it. But okay, so then I want you guys to download the Anchor app. It is purple and it's literally just Anchor. And this is what's going to do everything for you. It's going to record you're going to be able to edit things. This is what it looks like. So it's purple. I believe it's on Android and iTunes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be on both. And it literally will do everything for you. Okay. So as you guys see in the preview here, it will record for you. Then you can add segments. You can add jingles. You can move the order of stuff. And then you can also connect with other people and do recordings with them. That's how I'm going to do the interviews with it. And then what happens is it distributes it for you. So if you go through the app, little details, it tells you everything on here, and it puts it on Spotify for you. It puts you on like all these other podcasting listening apps, and they email you when it gets published. So it's super cool. And there's nothing that's different between me and you doing this. You're going to get published too. Okay. It's not like because I have followers or anything like that. It's literally just broadcasting it for you, because that is how the app works. It goes on Spotify first because they're like, connected, how like Facebook and Instagram are connected, ownership. So it's automatically going to be on Spotify. How cool. You guys are going to be published on Spotify. Like, that's so awesome. And then my coach said that you need at least 5 or 6, I think, episodes to then get added onto iTunes. So if you guys listen to podcasts already, and that's another thing, you guys, if you're not familiar with this at all, and I'm just like speaking Chinese to you, go on the podcast app for iTunes. If you have it, or go to Spotify and just search topics, search genres that interest you. I know there's like sports broadcasters that podcast. I know that there's like famous people that make them. There's a lot of like spiritual and like business mentor and like, life coaches that also do them. I have a whole bunch saved on mine. I know for me, I used to always listen to Ashley Mayfield. She has her own podcast. My coach has his own, On the Move, which is super cool. Like John Maxwell has their own, Tam Souter has their own. I know some of you guys know these names, so that's why I'm just putting it out there. Devotional with Pamela was a really awesome, like faith-driven one that I would listen to every day in the morning. Some people do them every day, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you. If you want to do them every day, go for it. I know Rachel Hollis has one, Manifestation Babe. Oh, Manifestation Babe is who I fell in love with podcasting. She, like, if I listened to her for like 3 years now. So when you first listen to her back in the day, it's like so muffled, like it's just night and day difference with the quality based on obviously technology advancing, but also based on her skills, getting better with how she has the editing and all of that. So that's why I'm saying just start, because you're not going to have it all together. All these people that have these, podcasts now, like theirs were probably terrible too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying yours is gonna be terrible, but like we all have a starting point. The same thing with posting. Think of your first business post. Obviously not if you just came in because you're getting the best mentorship. But back in the day, when you first started on social media, like what was your business post? I know mine were atrocious because we didn't know any better. And then we evolved and we grew and we got better as we went. So think of podcasting as the same thing. It's just a journey. Here are some other ones, just to give you guys some examples. And I'm going to talk about how you make that thumbnail as well. But as you guys see, like there's just so many different styles. And it's an untapped market, I feel like, for network marketing. Like I don't know of any really like a lot of people doing this. So that's why it's different. And it gets broadcasted for you. So it's not even like you have to pay for advertisement, which is super, super cool. Okay. So like I said, Anchor does everything for you. No equipment is necessary. I feel like I have hair in my mouth. Simple, easy to record. Like you guys see, you just hit the record button. And then another tip is just like mentally kind of prepare yourself before you do it. You want to be in a good headspace. You don't want to just have a fight with your boyfriend and then go and podcast, because your energy is going to portray through. So if you guys heard my first one, I was like super zen. Obviously, I took a CBD gummy from our company, so I was like chill. So take a gummy, go, meditate, pray. I straight up asked God, what do you want me to say? I prayed before this. I'm like, God, tell me what these people need to hear. Okay. So, use your intuition to get, guided. And, I don't really like schedule them. Like I kind of do, like I want to do maybe one Tuesday and Thursday or Friday, but I don't know. I'm just kind of like going with the flow. Don't overthink it. If you're a super green and planner, just stick to one a week. Okay. And then that will kind of alleviate the pressure and the stress. jotting down notes ahead of time helps. And also just go somewhere quiet. And like, if you have a big family, if you have a lot going on, be like, hey, I need to work for an hour. Please leave me alone. Like, straight up set the tone that you're going to work. This is work, you guys, that is going to bring you potential sales, leads, exposure, followers. And that's what you want. You want to start becoming an influencer of your own brand. You don't just want to depend on, what I'm telling you to post, or what I'm kind of guiding you with, or what you see, Joe and Sally do when you take their post. No, like, we're developing your brand right now. So this is like step one of thinking outside the box, of being creative, of teaching someone something, inspiring someone. And if you don't know what your brand is, maybe this is all so new to you and you're just like, I don't even know like anything. What is your story? Everyone has a story. Why are you here? Why are you, doing what you're doing? And you can talk about your family, that you want to pay off debt, that you want a bigger house, like your story of where you're going and why you are starting, network marketing, why you started a side hustle, why you're in a business mentorship program, why you joined Navan. There's so many different ways that you can take this. So whatever speaks to you, that's what I want you guys to talk about. And I'm not saying don't do this in a way to pitch Navan. That's not what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to pitch yourself. Sell yourself first. The business automatically follows. So make people fall in love with you. Make people want to know what's going on in your life. Okay. And you all have interesting lives. Do not try and discredit yourself saying that you have nothing going on. You guys all have value and something to offer. That's why you wake up every day. Okay. So there is a purpose. There is a reason for it. So hopefully you guys understand the difference. This is not an opportunity pitch podcast. That is not the point of this. The point of this is to talk about your passion. Are you into fashion? Like, it can literally be anything: sports, cars, being the best dad ever, managing all these things, being the best, fur mom, and how you manage your animals. Like, literally today, I had this aha moment. Like, I could talk about this too in one of my podcasts, how I literally manage being I want to say high-end cat mom, being a daughter, being a business, owner, being a home interior decorator, as I've been moving like 600 times, I feel like, like I could talk about how I managed all of that. Like, there's so many ways that you can talk about it. And even today, like, I had my cat was meowing last night, and I wrote that my cat won't stop meowing before I record my podcast. I wrote that on stories. And then today I realized that their feeder hasn't been giving them all the food because I forgot to put more food. So look at me being a bad mom. And like, that's funny. Like, I'm going to talk about that. That's real, raw, and relatable. So you guys just want to be yourselves. You want to put your personality out there. You want to make it as authentic as possible. So obviously listen to other people's to get ideas if you've never listened to podcasts, but I feel like, podcasting is kind of becoming more mainstream, but we're like in the beginning of that mainstream. So that's super awesome. Okay, so once you do your podcast, you want to add an intro and an outro. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. There is a website where you can download like little snippets of music. And I'm going to actually pull that up right now so that way you guys have it. It's like Something Beats. Let me see. Does anyone have any questions so far? Please drop them in the chat. Audio blocks is one that you guys can look at stuff. Some of them you do have to pay for, some of them you don't. And then there is Premium Beat, and that's where I got mine. So premiumbeat.com. They do try and get you to buy the full track for $49, and then you can do whatever you want with it. But I personally just downloaded the short versions, and it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. I think the intro and outro should be short because we don't really have like that technology yet, like, or I just don't know about it yet to kind of overlay like me speaking and all that stuff. So I'm just keeping it super simple, just a small little jingle, then my actual podcast, and then an outro. So if you guys see, this is from premiumbeats.com. You can just download the 15-second ones, and that's exactly what I did. Mine's called Dark Trap Vibes because, I don't know, I just felt like that was appropriate for me. So find something that speaks to you. And I think now I can find those stats. So I'm going to scroll up real quick. Okay, so here we go. Perfect. Okay. Statistics. There's only 700,000 active podcasts. Okay. There are 29 million episodes in more than 100 languages. The top 5 most popular podcasting genres are society and culture, business, comedy, news and politics, and health. So this gives you guys some pointers or some guidelines or confirmation, if you've already kind of decided what you wanted to do. 70% of the US population are familiar with the term podcasting. 51% of the population have listened to a podcast. So half the population out there has listened to it. That's why as soon as maybe you've announced it or you've done it, people are like, wow, like that's a big deal, because over 51% already have listened to one. So they know what it is. And I honestly feel like people think it's more work to do. Like, it is so simple. Anyone can start a podcast. 32% of the population listen to podcasts at least every month. 32%. That's pretty good. 22% of the population listen to podcasts weekly. And then 0.6% of the population are avid podcast fans. So that literally kind of shows you that this is like the beginning of a new movement. This is the beginning of a new wave, because people are busy. People are on the go. They're multitasking. AirPods are the next best thing in life. And you can literally just listen to a podcast while you're doing anything. I have these on like when I'm in the grocery store and I'm listening to something. And our demographic, I feel like, is perfect for podcasting too, because 18 to 21% of people that listen to podcasting is they're 18 to 44 years old. So it's our demographic. 16% of the population is 45 to 54, and then it goes down from there as people get older. But I just think that it is so important. So 56% of podcasters that listen are likely to be undergraduates. 45% have a college degree. 68 or more are likely to be postgraduates. So that shows you that it's a higher education level that has the most statistics that I'm looking at are listening to podcasts. So that's the type of people that are good to listen to, or that we want to listen to us. Okay. And then it goes into other stats that I feel like are redundant. If anyone wants this, I can send you the link. But it's just super cool to know that this is something that's highly, I feel like, anticipated, but it's like underdeveloped, underdone. Like, not a lot of people are doing it, and that's why we're going to do it. Okay, so once you have your podcast kind of figured out, I'm going to go to the back end of mine so what you guys see. So I only have 2 episodes so far. Let me turn down my screen. Okay, so I only have 2 episodes so far. I titled it, and when I first published this, I titled it Natalie Nicole Has Spoken, and then I got like these aha moments, and then the Power Babe name came about later. So you can literally just say like your name podcast. Like, it doesn't have to be anything super fancy yet until the idea comes to you. Like, this is a process. It's progress that equals happiness, right? You don't have to have it all figured out right away. People want to see the journey. They want to see where it was and where it began, and then where it's, going. And then, ultimately, you never know, you could be like the #1 podcaster. So it tells you how many people have played and listened to it. It tells you whenever you click on it, like, you can add a little description, super user friendly. And then here are my segments all into one. You can edit them. So I just clicked on editing one of them, and you can literally chop it. You can, change what it sounds like, change the speed of it. You can do so much with it, and it's super user friendly. I figured it out in like one night, just playing with it, just touching it around. I was actually really impressed with how easy it was. And okay, so then what you want to do is you want to create a cover photo, and this just kind of makes it look a little bit more legit. It just draws attention to it. It makes it stand out over, just having a regular selfie. At first, I just uploaded a picture because I didn't have one made, and then I made one after the fact. So don't feel like you have to have it made right away. But this is mine. I used Over, and I just added my selfie. I whited out the background, and then I added another background. Then I added the words, and I just played with it. And Over, you can search podcast as the actual graphic, and I'll show you guys what comes up. I do have the paid version, but I know that there's a lot of free ones out there as well. So if you want to incorporate some of these podcast icons with yours, and if you are not a design person, I can totally help you design one and utilize my Over. So you have all these like little, tidbits that you can, if you like the headphones, use the headphones, whatever you want. This is your creativity. What is your brand? Use your brand with it. I am, obviously a girly girl, so I like pink. And I wanted it to match my lipstick in this picture. That's why I honestly chose that pink, I call it, it's paint. Ultimately, it's like a paint strip in Over. And then I just picked fonts that spoke to me, and you guys have the luxury to do whatever you want with this. This is your personal brand. Like, there's no limits. There's no, guidelines. But if you're not, creative, you need some pointers. And I did it in like 3 stages. Where I was like playing with it, and I was like, oh no, that doesn't look good. And then I just kept editing it. So I'll show you guys. Like, it's not just like I magically, did it out of nowhere. Like, at first I didn't know which selfie, so I filtered like 6 different ones. And then I made it like this. And then I realized that this is the wrong size. So make sure you guys size it to the square, because this did not fit. I had this, overlaid, and I didn't like it. So then I just changed it, and I changed the microphone. This is like a different color microphone. And then I didn't like that either. And then I had to square it, and then I had to change it again. So it was it was a process for me doing it. And it took me like 3 hours, but it's okay, because I was watching TV and I was doing this, and now it's done. So, don't look at it as a job. Look at it as like you're able to play around with pictures and words. Okay. Make it fun. So what else I have written down on my notes is adding your cover photo, and then kind of figuring out your episodes, and kind of like mapping it out. And I had an idea, and then I already changed my idea. And that's okay, because I'm just like going off my intuition, and I'm trying to think like, okay, what do I want to do with this? Like, the sky's the limit, right? So it's like you're going to be like masterminding and thinking. And as soon as you get something that feels good, that speaks to you, run it. Just do it. Don't overthink it. And you can tweak it as you go. That's what I'm doing. Okay. So as I learn more about this whole industry as well, that I'll, obviously share with you guys. I'm sure there's like YouTube videos about it. I haven't even dived into research. I literally just hit record and just went to town. So then once you have it published, it is now your job to get the word out and to have people start listening. So I made a teaser post. Once I recorded it, I took a screenshot of my actual phone, background of me listening to it. And I said, oh my God, I just did a thing. And I put that emoji. I had someone message me already after that, like, oh my God, did you start your own podcast? Because someone already knew what Anchor was. So I like to create the hype. I like to create the suspense of making people like wait for it and like be like, well, what is she doing? Da, da, da. So you can do the same thing where you kind of, tease your audience. We call it dripping, whatever you want to call it. We do the same with the business. And you can even use this as a way to announce your business. If you haven't yet, you can use this as a way to tell your story as to why you joined Navan if you left a previous company. I personally, when I did that, I did it on Zoom. If I would have known that this was, already a thing, then I probably would have done it on a podcast. But I kind of wanted people to see my emotion just because my story was like so in depth, I feel like. But if you don't want people to, question you or stare at you, tell your story as to why you joined or why you switched companies with this podcast. I think that it would be, super beneficial, because people can still hear your voice. They can still hear your energy and your excitement or your emotion through this. And if you get choked up, good, that's real, that's raw. People want to hear that. With a post, we use emojis, but it's not the same. They can't sense your energy. They can't, feel what you feel as if they were hearing your voice or as if they were watching you on the camera. So another way that I started kind of dripping this was I said that I made my first podcast and I just shared it straight from Anchor. Like I did not overthink this. Like there's a way to share it, to your Facebook on Anchor. That's what I did. And then I added it to my story. I took a screenshot of it and I added it to my story and I wrote, this is my first episode, take a listen, something like that. Like I literally just put it up. Like I didn't overthink it at all. And then once I kind of started doing, my second one and figuring out my brand, that's when I made an official post, like, hey, I'm starting my podcast series. This is what it's kind of going to be about. But it was like a week later. So don't feel like you have to get all that out there right away. I also did a highlight for it on my Instagram. So if you guys look right there. So I have a highlight. It says podcast. You click on it. There's my teaser. So I did a thing tonight. And then you tap through and I wrote, I just started screenshotting everything that the app was telling me. And then I, just announced it. I took a screenshot, posted that on story. People started giving me feedback. I took screenshots of their reviews, what they were telling me. Then I wrote that I was working on my podcast schedule and just showing behind the scenes stuff. That's what Stories is, right? It's behind the scenes. Then I posted my published podcast and I wrote swipe up to listen. So then I did a video and I said, thank you so much for watching my podcast. So I just keep talking about it. That's it. I'm just promoting it naturally. I keep talking about it. And if you feel like people aren't viewing it, then you're not posting about it enough. You need to get more people seeing it. That way they know, or just say I'm working on my next one and keep the suspense going. Have people watching your page. And yeah, that's basically it, you guys. So just focus on whatever platform that you're currently on. Like if you love Instagram, just broadcast it on Instagram. If you love Facebook, put it on Facebook and use this as leverage of time. Okay. So let's say you're talking to someone and they're trying to get to know you, or you just made this awesome new friend on social media and they're like, oh, wow, like we have so much in common. I want to know more about your business, or I want to know more why you joined, or whatever your podcast is about. Be like, oh, I actually made a podcast. Can I send you the link? So that's what I used to do with my Navan video of why I joined Navan, is instead of saying like, yeah, this is why I joined, this is why I left, like I don't have time to explain that to 600 people at once, not 600, but you know what I mean? So it's just easier to be like, here's my video, and you just send out the link. It helps you leverage your time, because as a business owner, you have to have time management. Okay. You have to. So this podcast should help you have time management, because if someone's asking you questions, if they're, wanting to know more, just send them the link, and then boom, you guys are getting exposure, you're getting views, you're getting people on that platform. And you can, send the Spotify or, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm still sending people, I think, the Anchor one, because I haven't really even looked into the Spotify. I had to actually re-download it when they told me I was on Spotify, but it's just super cool. So this app is amazing. It's super user friendly. You have to just do it. So when you click tools, it'll tell you that you can start creating, and then also there's a discover option on this Anchor app, and it'll show you other people's albums and kind of what they made, and you can get some ideas from there too. So hopefully this was helpful, you guys. If you do yours tonight, please send it to me. I want to listen. I'm so excited for you. The ones that I've already heard already, Haley was amazing, just so out there and honest, and that's what your audience wants, you guys. Right now, vulnerability is sexy on social media. It is no longer fake it till you make it. People are looking right past those, those cheesy posts of the luxury lifestyle. Like now it's about raw, real, and your story. So take this, 2 seconds of courage that I'm giving you and just go do it now. Don't even overthink it. Just start talking. And I promise you, it's going to become something so beautiful. So hope you guys have an awesome night. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can message me privately, and yeah, we'll touch base later. So, all right. Bye guys.